Welcome to Mild Moodcast, a podcast meant to explore mental health through the lens of another human hanging on by a thread. I'm Bianca, a registered mental health counselor intern, soon to be LMHC, here to chat about the topics we don't get enough of. So grab your headphones and let's dive into the crazy world of mental health. It's going to be a wild ride. What's going on, guys? Happy Sunday. Welcome back to another episode of Mild Moodcast. You know, today's a holiday, and I just want to wish those that are able to celebrate it well and send my love to you and to anyone carrying grief today. Not going to talk too much about it because maybe you didn't come here to think about that today, and that's okay. But I did want to mention it. Regardless, I hope that everybody is having a beautiful day. And I hope that you have an amazing week. Today's episode, as you can see, is called Saying Yes to Your Power While Still Feeling the Ache. Now, you guys know me after listening, or if you don't, hi, welcome. Something about me is I am very real. I never mind talking about the things that I'm going through, and I always like to relate them to other people so that maybe you can feel like you're not alone. I want to talk about what it feels like to honor your power, even when things still kind of suck. So I'm going to do my disclaimer and then we'll jump into the topic. As always, while my podcast is meant to spark reflection and curiosity, it's not a replacement for therapy. If you're navigating heavy emotions or challenges, please reach out to a professional. Therapy is a safe space to process and grow. So let's start with a truth that a lot of people try to skip over. Claiming your power doesn't always feel powerful at first. Sometimes it feels like you're standing in the middle of a storm, soaking wet, heart is pounding, barely able to breathe, and still whispering yes to something that isn't even fully formed yet. Not because you're ready, not because you're fearless, but because your soul knows it's time. And that ache you feel, that tightness in your chest, or the lump in your throat, the sensation of leaving behind something familiar, even if it wasn't safe or fulfilling, that ache isn't weakness. It's proof that you're alive, that you're growing, that something sacred is shifting inside you. So I want to talk first about what power actually looks like. Let's talk about what it isn't. Because it's not always bold or loud or even certain, right? It's not a viral reel or a perfectly curated morning routine. And it's definitely not about always being confident. And you know, in a world of social media that we live in, that's what people make it look like. They make everything look perfect. People end up watching others and going, damn, why can't my life look like that? And the truth is because theirs doesn't either. But they want you to think it does. So what does power look like sometimes? Closing your laptop and saying, I need rest more than I need to catch up. And if you guys heard my episode, I think it was like 2 episodes ago, I was kind of talking about my life changes and things that I was going through and just feeling really exhausted, but knowing that if I stopped, I'd miss a deadline. And sometimes power is messy because you have to stop. You have to rest. Another thing might be deciding not to text someone back who only reaches out when they want something. And I'll be real, that one's really hard. Because, you know, as people, we want connection. But when you're trying to get that connection, you can't. And when they want something, they are sure as shit gonna message you. Another thing is asking yourself if the version of success that you're chasing even belongs to you. Is it yours? Is that really how you define success? Let me give you a more grounded example. Let's say you're in school or working full time or both, and suddenly something inside you says, this isn't it. It's not a breakdown. That is a quiet moment of knowing that something has to change. And the second you acknowledge that truth, the ache shows up. Because now you know what you want, but you also know that it might cost you comfort, approval, or certainty. So, how do we feel the ache without collapsing into it? Because that's something that a lot of people struggle with. If I allow myself to feel, if I allow myself to do the thing, to feel the thing, it takes me over. And this part, it's very tender because that ache is real. Sometimes you can trace it back to something specific, some specific wound in your life. Other times, it's just that slow burn of outgrowing who you were without knowing who you're becoming yet, which was last week's episode. When you're in between versions of yourself. And we talked about the fact that it was sacred, but it's uncomfortable as hell. And if you haven't listened to that episode, I definitely would recommend that you give it a listen. What I've learned is you don't have to fix that ache. You just have to let it be there while you keep walking forward. It's a big thing to constantly feel like I'm uncomfortable and I don't want to be, so I need to make a shift. So I need to distract. So I need to do the surface level thing. I need to scroll. I need to interact with other people. I need to post so that I don't have to feel this. During the time that I was navigating a huge identity shift, I felt like I was unraveling. I remember sitting in my office just crying. Not because anything happened, but because everything was happening. Everything was becoming. And I laugh about it now, but it's a lot in those moments, because it hurts. And in that moment, maybe I wasn't powerful in the way that the world defines it. But I was powerful in the most honest way. I felt the ache and still chose not to abandon myself. I didn't run from it. I didn't feel like I needed to fix it. I just felt it. And to tell you the truth, as recently as yesterday, I just sat with a feeling and I just felt it. Because I needed to be soft. Because that is true power. So let's talk about permission to feel and still move. Because the lie that keeps a lot of us stuck is, if I'm not over it, I can't move forward. If I haven't fixed it, if I haven't changed it entirely, I can't move forward. And here's something I need you to understand. Healing isn't a prerequisite for movement. Sometimes it's the result of movement. We get so stuck in our heads about what we haven't done, or how we don't deserve it, or how we can't want it, or want to work toward it, that we freeze. And a lot of times, the change comes from doing it anyway. Because if I listen to those moments where I'm frozen, I may stay stuck forever. And that's just kind of how we're wired. Maybe you're launching a business while grieving a loss. Maybe you're setting boundaries with people while still feeling guilt. You're applying for new jobs while your confidence is barely hanging on. Your ache doesn't cancel your momentum. It humanizes it. And I want to say this for the perfectionists in the room. You don't have to do everything right in order to be aligned. You just have to be willing to stay with yourself through the mess of it. Changing and wanting to be a better person, you're not going to immediately know how to embody that better person. And as I said last week, it's already a part of who you are. It's just them taking the reins, them leading. Rather than being so stuck in who you're not sure if you can become, if you're not sure that you deserve a second chance, a third chance, a fourth chance. Who you are now, are they willing to stay through the mess of it? You know, power isn't always a shout. Sometimes it's a whisper. And that's the kind of thing that not a lot of people clap for. It's the kind where you get up and you go to work, even when anxiety is loud in your chest. You say no to something that looks good on paper, but feels wrong in your gut. You might forgive someone, not for them, but to give yourself peace. Admitting that you're scared and still showing up. It's okay to want more and still miss what you're walking away from. It's okay to feel strong and soft in the same breath. Because personally, those are the same thing for me. It's okay to be the person who chooses themselves, even if it means losing a little bit of the life you had before. You know, if nobody's told you this lately, you're doing so much better than you think you are. And if I haven't said it enough, you are not behind. You're not broken. You're certainly not weak for aching while you grow. You know, the universe doesn't require you to be perfect to bless you. You don't have to hide your ache to be worthy of joy. You just have to be willing to say yes to your power, even when your voice shakes. So if you are sitting in that in-between today, if you're letting go of something and unsure of what's next, if you've let go of something and you're still not sure of what's next, you're not sure how you're going to build it, you're not sure how you're going to become it, if you're holding on to grief in one hand and hope in the other, you are not lost. You're in the process. And someday, you know, you're going to look back and you're going to realize this version of you, the one that was scared, but is still trying, was the bravest one of all. You don't have to have the perfect words, the perfect day, the perfect scenario to change. Because to tell you the truth, it's never going to be perfect. You're going to stumble over your words. The day could start out great and end rough. Or in the opposite, could start out rough and end great. You don't have to prove that you have taken steps and strides toward being the highest version of yourself. You just have to be brave. You have to say, I can do it. Because the truth is, you can. All of us can. You don't have to prove anything to anyone but yourself. And even then, are your expectations of you realistic? Are you being too hard on yourself? And that's where that other person's voice kind of comes in too, because it's like, whose voice is that? Is it your own? Are you projecting your own fear on situations, on other people? It's a lot to think about. You know, if this conversation resonated with you, I just want you to do something gentle for yourself today. Maybe that looks like journaling, taking a deep breath with your hand on your heart, whispering, "I'm proud of you," to yourself, even if you don't fully believe it yet. Take time for you today to just feel your way through it. And let me know how that goes. Because I just have this incredible feeling that you're going to like the way it turns out. Thanks for listening today, guys. I appreciate you. Hope you have an amazing week, regardless of the day that you were listening to this, and just share this to someone that you think might need it. Bye. Thanks for tuning in to Mild Moodcast. Remember, the conversation doesn't end here. If you have any burning questions or topics you'd like me to cover, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find me on YouTube at Mild Moodcast and Instagram at Mild Mood Therapy. Let's keep the conversation going and continue to explore the wonderful world of mental health together. Until next time, stay curious and keep smiling.